Let's go.
You're listening to the Cage Nation TV Prizefight Podcast. Coming to you from the Candid Cameron Studios in State College, Pennsylvania. Here's your host, Albert Cameron.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Friday means podcast day. It also means the Friday 5 at cagenationtv.com. I'm your host, Albert Cameron, and with me, we have a very special guest, the Pride of Bloomfield, Mr. Mark Cherico. Mark, how you doing?
Oh, man, I'm doing fantastic.
Fantastic. Now, Mark, of course, a really, really big announcement coming out of the Mark Cherico Academy here recently that the Pride of Bloomfield is making his return to active mixed martial arts competition at King of the Cage. How did that all come together?
Well, I bought the gym in middle of November and took over officially in December. So once I did that, I had kind of decided I was probably going to get back to fighting. I just wanted to get the gym situated, get used to the day in and day out of actually, doing the QuickBooks and managing and running the gym by myself. I made sure the finances were up to snuff, and we were doing a big remodel in the back for the ladies only program. So I wanted to get all that stuff kind of done, and then from there I was going to reassess the situation with fighting. Because originally when I had said I was done, I was taking a job with the gas company, like a local gas company here. So it was a good paying job, and I knew there was no way I was going to be able to manage that, my family, and training for fights. So one of them's got to go, and it's going to be the least beneficial, which was fighting at the time.
Sure. Now, Mark, let's speak about you taking over the gym. Pittsburgh Fight Club, clearly one of the powerhouse gyms, one of the super gyms in the Pittsburgh area. You take it over, it now becomes the Mark Cherico's Martial Arts Academy. Was there any reservations or any nerves that for taking it over? Was it an easy transition, Mark, or is there, how did that go down in your head?
Well, Mick and Melissa had called me and kind of made an offer to me, and initially I balked at it. And I was like, no, I'm upset in what I'm doing because I didn't want to say yes, and then a couple months, we still had to have the changeover, and so I didn't know what Greg had planned if he was ready to step down or what the case was. So I didn't want to say yes until everything was settled, and I got a call the next morning from Mick. He said, "Hey, everything's set. If you want the championship, you should take over December 1st." I'm like, okay. So, then I have to go home and, talk to the wife and explain to her, hey, I'm not going to take the safe route here. We're going to go all in with this to see how I can do running the gym. And she was all for it. And so once she backed my play, I was ready to run with it.
Anyone can tell you that a happy wife is a happy life. Ain't that right, Mark?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mark. Now, you prepared yourself for Gladiators of the Cage to win the championship and to step down. How big of an emotional journey was that for you, preparing for your professional career to be over?
You know what? I was so miserable that I was actually looking forward to it. I could not wait to just get in there. And it was weird, in the back, getting ready for the fight, that night of the fight. I'm like, man, whatever happens, doesn't really matter. I really could care less. I go out there. Part of me was I'm like, dude, I hope I don't go out there, we start exchanging. I'm just like, yeah, fuck it, I'm done. And I don't know, I'm even walking out to the cage, I'm thinking the same thing, it doesn't fucking matter, doesn't matter. And I don't know, man, I walked out to MGK, bad mother effer, and it had me pumped. So I went in there and just fought my ass off.
Now, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. What was the emotional state of mind like whenever you took the fight with King of the Cage and said, yeah, I'll come back?
I've been dealing with karma every day, making fun of me and talking mad shit and telling me I need to fight again. And he's had some other choice words for some other things. So, he's been in my face about it since probably the 25th of October, the day after last night. So, it had been, I had a little back and forth early on, like when I first took over the gym, there was a lot going on. Like, you know, I'm getting this pressure from like, I was like, oh, you should fight again. And my management company hit me. I was like, hey, we got a couple little offers here and there. And, you know, so and some of them are tempting, and you're just like, no, I can't do it yet. I can't do it yet. So it was a constant like seesaw battle. And there were times where I'm like, maybe I'm not gonna get to do it. Maybe like running the gym is just gonna be what I'm doing full time, and there's no time to get in camp. And you know, so I wasn't gonna commit to anything until I was 100% sure. And I wanted to make sure I could put in a full camp. It's, you know what I mean? Like,
sure.
If I didn't try to put in, like, I started training like doing 2-a-days the last couple weeks because I wanted to make sure prior to taking the fight that I was going to be able to do it. I wasn't going to take a fight and then 2 weeks down the road, like, man, I can't even put these 2-a-days in because I'm working too much. Like, I got to pull out. I didn't want to do that. So I put in a couple good hard weeks, so like 2-a-days, and making sure like the gym wasn't suffering or anything. We were still, you know, getting our emails, keeping the gym cleaned up, making sure we're getting new clientele in every day, you know, gaining members. So I got to keep growing the gym, you know. And,
Absolutely.
we were able to do that, and I've been able to do that pretty good, and I've still been able to, you know, it's nice having the gym. Like, I work in women's classes from like 5 in the morning, I'm 4 in the morning. My first class is 5:30 in the morning, and then I'm done at 11, so I'll go home, like, hang out with my daughter for 4 or 5 hours, and then go back to the gym and, you know, clean up, teach some classes, and then come back home. So it's a long day, but it's spaced out a little bit. Like, I do get a couple hours of downtime that I can come home and hang out with the wife and kid, and I can bring her to work if I want to, which is always nice. Now it's my place. Not that I couldn't before, but it's nice when it's your own place. So I don't have to worry about pissing anybody off.
Hey, you know, family comes first, and I don't think it's ever been any secret to the MMA community that Mark Cherico is an incredible family man. Mark, King of the Cage is identifiably the 4th biggest promotion in North America, right behind, of course, the UFC, WSOF, and Bellator. There have been some big names in King of the Cage who have had the prime spot on the poster. Now that's Mark Cherico. Like, the poster came out the other day. Mark Cherico's prime spot on that poster. Like, it certainly looks like it's a doorway to bigger and better things as far as MMA goes for you. Are you preparing for that?
Yeah, you know, I'm hoping that this will be the fight that gets me over that hump. You know, I mean, I'll be on a 3-fight win streak if everything goes accordingly. You know, hopefully 3 straight finishes. You know, I'm undefeated at featherweight. You know, my lone loss is when I try to get down to 35. And, you know, it kind of irritates me. I'd like to maybe go back down there, try my hand at that again. But Taylor doesn't seem to want to budge on giving me that rematch. So, you know, I'll settle for fighting at 45. I dropped down to 35 to fight Josh Baker. I've been trying to get that fight, and he's turned it down a few times. But other than that, I'll probably stick to 45. And I feel like I can be a pretty dominant fighter at the weight class, especially now with the IV ban. Giving UFC and a lot of 35ers are moving up, 45ers are moving up as well. So I don't think the height difference that I've been seeing lately at featherweight will be as big of a factor. And I'm a bigger 45er. Height-wise isn't ideal.
Well, now speaking of 45, the featherweight division here in Pittsburgh, Rob Hanna and Dominic Mazzata had an incredible bout. Of course, Mazzata did a lot of his training at the Mark Cherico Academy. With his return to King of the Cage, I mean, are we thinking like, you know, we're going to reestablish Mark Cherico as the dominant 45er in Pittsburgh, or are we thinking we're going to be going more regional?
I don't know yet. I mean, me and Dominic are talking because he's like, I barely got out of there alive fighting at like 40. I'll never do that again, like fighting a 45 or at 45. And we were talking about this, and he was like, yeah, I'm trying to fight at 55. And he's like, dude, I'll never fight that like that again because it's just such a difference, like how big those guys are. And so, like, his words of advice from that, I actually took because now I'm not gonna go fight a guy that cuts down to make 155. So I appreciate that. But he's one of my main guys that I get to work with. He's extremely helpful in camp, and I got to help him in this last camp. And that's actually what really kind of pushed me to get back in there. Because he was, you know, hey, can you keep me around, taking me around? I'm like, fuck, man, I don't really want to train. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's getting ready for a fight. You know, so and I know the other guys that we usually train with, like Wilkins, I think was a little banged up. He was on vacation or in Toronto. Like, so he wasn't around as much, so he needed work. So, you got to be there for the guys that are always there for you. So, I don't know. I mean, I could go back to Pinnacle. He said he was probably going to fight in Pinnacle in July. I think he's going to fight at 40. And so I was like, maybe I'll fight at 50 and we'll just do these catch weight bouts.
Sure.
It's nice to not have to cut the weight. Like, ideally, I'll fight at 45, but I wouldn't mind fighting some 45ers at 50. Just catching a little bit there, a little less strain, a little less beating up the body. And then, when the UFC calls, I'll fight at 45.
Well, that's actually the next point I'm going to get at, Mark. Has King of the Cage named the opponent for you yet?
I believe we do have an opponent. I'm not 100%. It's not 100% yet. I'm waiting to hear back from the promoter, but I'm hoping to announce it later today if baseball goes accordingly. We were hoping to fight the current champion, Jordan Griffin. He's defending his title on Friday, and they said it would be too quick of a turnaround. So they're going to wait. But maybe that would be a fight if the next one doesn't give me a UFC. Maybe that's one we can look to get. He's very talented, so I'd like to test myself to get something like that.
King of the Cage, Mark. Adam Milstead. His King of the Cage bout, I feel really does directly correlate to him coming to the UFC. A lot of guys who have been in King of the Cage have gone to UFC, of course. Mac Danzig, Joe Stevenson, Jason Von Flue, Nate Quarry. This could be a very big step for you. If you, let's say when you get into the UFC, Mark, is there a 45er that you had that you want to compete against just for the sake of competition?
I don't know. There's so many guys in the UFC anymore. Like, it's hard to keep track, and everybody's always up and down on weight. I always would like to fight Dustin Poirier. Nothing against him, just he was like one of my favorite fighters. I remember watching Fightville and stuff. Like, it would have been cool to just get to compete against him. I know he bumped up. So, not really. I mean, I'll fight anybody. Honestly, any 45er in the UFC it'd be fun to fight.
There we go. Mark, your Academy guys coming over from Fight Club Pittsburgh, of course, Kama Worthy being one of the bigger names, Chaka Worthy. Is there anyone who's just getting ready for his amateur fight that we should be looking out for?
I'm really high on Justin Patton, and he hasn't really put it together yet, per se, in the cage. His last fight, I don't really blame him. He went up a weight class, and I was dealing with my own fight, so I didn't even really handle the situation with the fighters at that point in time. And he took a fight with a kid that was way too big for him, and it knocked his record out. He's like 2-3 now, but the kid's one of the hardest workers, and I think like one or two more fights, he's going to be putting it together a lot better. And his other loss, he always lost to the tough guys, and I think he'll put it together. I think by the end of his amateur career, he'll have a pretty good record. I'd like to see him at like 8-3, 8-4, or something like that before we turn him pro. But he's a hard worker. I'm really high on him. We got another kid who's supposed to make his debut at the last Pinnacle, and his opponent pulled out at the last minute with personal issues. Wouldn't say what it was. Said personal issues, which always a suspect. But nonetheless, we're going to get him on a card April 30th. His name's Ross Holland.
Okay.
Training with us since he was 15. Yeah, just turned 18 in February, and so he's going to be making his amateur debut. I'm really high on him. I think he'll keep well.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark, the Pride of Bloomfield Cherico, is going to be making his professional mixed martial arts re-debut. He's coming out of retirement. We don't really want to call it a Rocky story because I've never really seen Mark Cherico take an ass-kicking like Rocky got from Apollo Creed. But Mark Cherico is coming back to King of the Cage at the Meadows Casino in May. Whenever we find out about that opponent, Cage Nation TV will be sure to bring that on. Mark, do you have any parting words you want to leave us all with?
Other than that, I just want to thank everybody for some support. My wife, my daughter, all my teammates helped me get ready, and that's about it.
Fantastic. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, Friday is podcast day here at the Prizefight Podcast, but also the Friday 5 at CageNationTV.com. This Friday, we counted down the 5 fastest finishes of my man, the Pride of Bloomfield, Mark Cherico. You want to check that out at CageNationTV.com. This has been the Prizefight Podcast. Very special thank you to Mark Cherico for joining me this week. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, fights, Cameron, action.
Thank you for tuning in to the Cage Nation Prizefight Podcast. All rights reserved, 2015-2016 Planetary Sports. The Prizefight Podcast is part of the Cage Nation Broadcast Network. For more information, visit www.cagenationtv.com.